welcome to the first lecture on our set work 1, Eine Kleine Nachtmusik, Movement 3, which is a minuet and trio. It was written by this man called Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. It was written in 1787, quite a long time ago, and this was during the time that we would call the classical period in music, 1750 to 1810. It was written for string quartet. Quartet means four, and there are 4 instruments here, which you can see a little diagram of. They usually sit down when they play, and they are string instruments, which means they are mainly bowed. Okay, the classical period was 1750 to 1810, but not all classical music belongs to this. There was a lot of melody and accompaniment around this time, and types of music that we call homophonic, which we'll explain later on in the course. The phrases were regular, and they were mainly composed for string instruments, although also brass and wind. The 3 main composers of this era were Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. Okay, this is a string quartet. You can see that there are 4 players, they sit down to play. This piece, though, was also written for an optional double bass. You don't have to use a double bass, it's just optional. Let's have a look at the 4 instruments. Violin 1 usually tends to lead the melody and have a higher pitch than violin 2. They are both the same size, they're both the same instrument though. The viola is slightly different, and it uses the alto clef, which you'll learn about later on, and the cello is the biggest of the quartet, which you have to sit down to play. The optional double bass, however, is definitely the biggest instrument, which you need to stand up to play. Here's a really good diagram because it shows you the kind of size of these instruments. You can see how much bigger the double bass is. Okay, here's an extract from the trio of this piece. And you can see in this version there is an optional double bass. Okay, Eine Kleine Nachtmusik is actually made up of 4 movements. We are only studying the 3rd movement of this piece, which is much longer than what we're going to kind of hear and what we're going to get used to. The 3rd movement is made up of 2 sections, the minuet and the trio. We've mainly learnt to play the minuet on keyboard. Each section is made of 2 parts. We call those A and B and A and B. When something has a structure A and B, we call this binary form. Binary basically means 2, and we always call these parts A and B. So if something has A and B as part of its structure, we call it binary form. In the minuet and trio, both sections are binary form, except they're repeated. These marks here with the dots mean to repeat. So both the minuet and the trio have a section A and a section B, and these are different. The overall structure of movement 3 for Eine Kleine is A and B, with these both repeated in the minuet. Then the trio, which is A and B, with both of these repeated. And then finally, it actually goes back to the minuet, A and B, and this time there's no repeats. What you need to remember is that each section is in binary form. Now, it's really useful to understand the structure in terms of key. The minuet is in G major, the trio is in D major, which we know is the dominant of G major, and the minuet comes back and it comes back into G major. Again, we need to remember that it's all in binary form, but we need to remember that the first time the minuet and trio performed, they are repeated. Here is a really useful version of this piece. It is the score followed through so you can hear the structure.
Thanks for listening. I hope this helps you understand the structure of Eine Kleine a little bit more.